going on, everybody? Welcome back to the bus driver experience. And as you can see, my shirt is off. Today's show is going to be a little different. We've been talking a lot about internet censorship in general, whether that's through social medias, content creation. And my guest today, a former guest of the show, is experiencing and facing that certain censorship from Instagram. Anywhere else?
Instagram, Facebook. It's all Facebook.
It's all Facebook. So today we are going topless in today's interview, and it's on Kirra's campaign of freeing the nipple. So Kirra, welcome back on the show.
Pleasure.
I love that. I love the idea. I was thinking the idea, but then you said it first, and it was like, oh, it's exactly.
It's better if I bring it up. I think first.
Yeah.
Hey Kirra, you want to be topless on my show?
Well, here on the Bus Drive Experience, we push the bounds of what people are talking about, having conversations people either don't want to have, don't think they can have.
Right.
So, pumped to have you back on the show.
Yeah, maybe we should explain my makeshift pasties.
Well, those are mine.
Exactly. So, these are actually Brandon's nipples that I have printed into stickers to censor my own nipples because my body is obscene or unacceptable.
Why is the body, or at least a woman's body, seen or perceived that way?
I mean, that's a very good question. I think historically women are seen as sexual objects primarily, which is kind of hilarious because our nipples actually serve a function. Like, we can feed someone through our nipples. If anyone's nipples are purely for sexual reasons, I think it would be the male nipple, if I'm going to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole different take and perspective. I mean,
your nipples serve no function whatsoever.
well, I mean, I think about a photo, and as long as the nipple is covered,
Yeah.
the vagina is covered,
Yeah.
it's fine. And that is not nudity.
Right. People are okay with breast. It's the nipple itself that becomes offensive. And I just became sick of my art being censored. And I think it sends this really bad message to women that it teaches people to be ashamed of their bodies. And women are seen as these walking, talking fuck toys just there for male design. And, I'm sick of that.
1000%. Any girl I've dated, or just any girl I know, or in general, I'd say there's a lot more shame in your body. Like, a man will talk about, oh, you have a problem taking your shirt off and running around, or a guy, whether he has, some excess fat on his body, I'm a guy, I don't care.
Yeah.
And, just thinking about that throughout the years, throughout the ages, could be just say overall psychology.
Definitely. A lot of women have reached out to me once I released the project and talking about their earliest memories of being told their bodies weren't acceptable. And often it was as a child, 5 years old, when they're in their bathers at the beach. And their mother's telling them oh my gosh, cover up, or another woman, telling them to cover up. I read an article, this girl, her mother used to tell her, don't run around the house in your bikini because you'll distract your father. That kind of narrative that we're fed from such a young age is really damaging.
You're thinking all the way back to biblical times. In the garden, hey, for a male and a woman, both clothe yourself, don't be seen in this light in the eyes of God. And we're talking about 8,000 years that there's this whole stigma casted around, both sexualities.
Yeah.
And even the formation of this country, the puritanical ideas that, hey, your body is, almost as I have sex or think about sex, the least amount as possible.
Yeah, the religious reference is really good. I don't want to say that sexism originated from religion, but it definitely pushed the whole story along. Women in the Bible are seen as temptation, and temptation is seen as this great sin. So women are sin. And that's something, especially in America, that I think runs as this current through culture.
Don't you think there was a little bit of, hey, we can't just be running around having sex all the time. We need to cast these images in different lights or different perspectives in order to get work done. We can't build these amazing cities. We can't make these incredible civilizations. We're running around having sex all the time. As great of a place it would be, as great as a utopia it would sound like. Do you think there was another idea in mind in order to
So why is sex sinful? Is that your question?
Not sinful. It's the amount of things that we need to do, let's say
Right.
the balance,
Right.
the yin and yang of life.
Right.
And if we are able to create all these things,
Right.
because there's an idea, I forgot what psychologist is that the amount of things that are credited to in society and civilization is male sexual repression.
Right.
And either males are able to harness that repression of our sex lives
Yeah.
in order to push that towards, different things in the civilization we build, whether it's business or the sciences or mathematics, that's where our minds are.
I don't know. I'm actually really against this idea that, it's almost like, oh, we're protecting you from men. I think they use that too often. It's like, we have to censor you because we're protecting you from men. I just don't agree with it. I actually think it's the act of censoring it or making something taboo that makes it more erotic. So like, I think if we could run around having sex all the time, people probably wouldn't do it as much because it wouldn't be as erotic or taboo. It's the same with the nipples. Like, nipples are seen as erotic because for the very reason that they're like censored. The censorship makes them more erotic or desirable. So I think it's the same with men. I actually don't think that men and women are all that different sexually. In fact, research shows that female desires and fantasies are far more kinky and erotic than males.
Really?
Yeah, so I think this is just this bullshit story that we've been fed for so long. I think women are every bit as sexual. Like, maybe, if we could run around having sex, women would be attacking men just as much. So, yeah.
What a time. What a time out there.
Right. I think I've had this conversation with you before. I think it's ridiculous. Like, women get shamed for their bodies and for sex, and then they want to have sex less. Like, as a man, doesn't that sound counterproductive?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense,
Right.
Especially with the amount of shaming that goes in.
Right.
The word slut
Yeah.
or whore.
Yeah. And then if you don't have sex, you're frigid. Like.
There's no balance in it.
Yeah, there's no
but
balance.
you made the great point of, it's like drugs.
Yeah.
And the countercultures that are created. Like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
drugs are illegal. Don't do these things. Yeah. And whatever drug you're consuming or drug you're taking that's illegal or it's against the law to take.
Yeah.
People might enjoy it even more.
Right. It's just like prohibition.
They want it.
People drank so much more during prohibition when it wasn't allowed,
Yeah. So that goes back towards sex, where it's like, oh, wow, if it's out there, if people are able to talk about it more,
Right.
it really starts with the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big thing, even with relationships.
Yeah,
is
for
that,
sure.
I mean, even a conversation that you or I are having right now, we're able to talk and say, oh, we're shirtless, we're topless, and we're still talking about sexuality. But people that are intimate with each other
Yeah.
are afraid or either don't know how to. I think even the bigger thing, I don't know if we talked about this last time,
Yeah.
like pornography is
Yeah.
just like people's first introduction.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really scary.
Not even sex, intimacy, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you court somebody.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. I think there's a really big movement, like, make better porn. I'm not against porn. I just think that
no one's against porn.
No one's against porn. I just think that for a lot of people, this is their sex education, and that's alarming. There's not a lot of great sex education in America or really like anywhere. So people turn to the internet, and this is where they're learning what is acceptable and what's not. And I think that's really scary, because I don't think that, would you agree that porn is the best example of what sex should be?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
At all. And granted, we've had porn stars on the show.
Yeah.
Love them. Shout out to Louie.
Oh, no, absolutely. All for porn stars. I'm even about like empowering the porn stars. A lot of the porn stars get taken advantage of
So
in
many.
today's industry. It's really horrible.
Very bad.
Yeah. But back in the 70s and 80s, they had much more control over their content. And now they're just getting ripped off. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that porn should be your first introduction to
Yeah.
sex. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think about my first introduction and like in school where it was introduced, and it was this animated cartoon of this
Yeah.
this sperm swimming towards an egg, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what just happened? You're 4th or 5th grade. I mean, you're thinking 9, 10 years old, and of course all the boys are over here and the girls
Yeah.
are in a whole different room.
Wow, really? Oh my
Yeah.
God. They separated you?
Separated us.
Fascinating. That's
And
amazing.
so we're in there and just like looking around like, oh, well, the guys are here. These are my friends. Like,
Wow.
well, what are we watching? Like, what's going on here?
Wow, that's amazing.
1 or 2 guys have older brothers, so they
Yeah.
kind of know, or they know the language around it.
Yeah, sex education is scary. My husband's talked about sex education in America, and they just showed a bunch of pictures of STDs, and like that was it.
Oh,
and
God,
they're like,
the
"Don't
STD
do it.
pictures.
STD is scary." Like his perception was like, if you have sex, you're gonna get an STD. That was what he got out of sex education, and really nothing else. I was very lucky to have a very open-minded mother who put me on birth control like as soon as I got a boyfriend, and was like open and kind of like ran her own sex education program with me. So I'm like very fortunate, but unfortunately most people aren't, and they're getting their information from the wrong sources.
What are your thoughts on birth control?
Oh, I mean, I'm 100% for it. I think the recent news in Alabama has been devastating, you know. Just talking to other women about it, it's like it hits like to the core, you know. It was really upsetting.
Now, are these women in Alabama or women
No, just like
in New York
just
in
in,
general?
just in New York. Like it just feels like an attack, and we're fearful of how far things can regress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you really think that would happen in New York, that it would regress this much?
No, you know what? That's why I love New York, and I feel like New York is powerful enough to stand on its own. So, but you know, I feel for women in Alabama, Georgia. I think it's a lot of these women won't have the money if they need an abortion to travel to a state where it is legal, and neither should they. Like, no one's saying getting an abortion is easy. I think that's always like a painful and difficult process, but why should we make it harder for people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my biggest problem with
Yeah.
where it's happened was in Alabama,
Yeah.
Georgia now as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
This is going to be a painful and difficult choice for any woman who has to do this.
Yeah.
1 week,
Right.
plan B,
Right.
48 hours after, or we're talking like 36 weeks down the line. This is going to be the toughest decision you have to make. You're
Yeah.
making this decision over something that's not even born yet,
Yeah.
but either has a consciousness already or has a life. So how do you do this? What do you have to do? What kind of counseling, psychologically, do you need to get this? And the fact that, you know, I think people, whether they're conservative and even liberal people or more progressive people in, you know, these areas on the coastlines, it's like we need that there for the person who may use it. It's not everybody's getting an abortion. Hey, go in there and do
Right.
it. And I think there need, for the people on the conservative side, I don't know if they want a better checks and balances to know,
Right.
because I mean, what was it in New York State? And you don't know, these are the videos on the internet that
Mm-hmm.
there's these late term abortions going on, and women are getting abortions at 32 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, are you saying that for the woman? Like, 'cause I don't think it's easy for her. I don't think she's doing that willy nilly.
Right.
It's a funny word to say willy nilly. But, you know, what is it that they've done research or reports that, you know, whether it's Planned Parenthood or these local institutions are selling the body parts.
Right.
And I mean, again,
For science.
it's a dead body. I mean,
Yeah, but it's selling it for science. You know, it's amazing what they're doing with stem cell research.
we're behind again because of Christian conservatives back
Right.
during the George Bush presidency, that we didn't want to do stem cell research, and we fall back behind the curve.
Yeah. You know what? I think also a big part of the laws that were passed in Alabama is that I think the penalty for getting an abortion is more than the penalty for rape. And that tells women that we don't matter. You know, like the law doesn't care about us. The law's not going to protect us. You know, I think that was really startling and upsetting. Yeah, I mean, I had a physical reaction to the news. Like, it was just so incredibly upsetting, and I know that a lot of women felt that way.
Because again, like you said, the laws or the penalties, the punishments,
Right.
don't make no sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
for the crime that was committed,
Yeah,
that created this life,
yeah,
and if you want to do something against that life, you
Yeah.
can't do it. It makes no sense.
yeah. It's just that in the eyes of the law, like, women aren't equal. We haven't even passed the Equality Act.
So, the Free the Nipple campaign. You know,
Yes.
what's going on with Facebook? What's going on with Instagram? Why are they these beacons of free speech and
Yeah.
letting you be yourself and let your friends connect with you?
Yeah.
Why are they limiting you and your art form and your
Yeah.
even your profession and job?
Oh, yes, my job. Like, at the very basis of it, I'm just like trying to do my job, and I want to be able to share my work, and social media is the new age, like, public square, you know, and I'm just not getting the same opportunity to share my work like everybody else. And it's not just me. There's so many people, you know. It started with I was trying to promote my last project, The List. And I used a very simple image of like a woman who was completely clothed, but she had a bare midriff. And they banned me for life for advertising on Facebook. Completely putting into disarray my entire promotional campaign.
Any reason behind all that?
Because Facebook advertising is actually even more strict than the censorship laws. So you can't show even cleavage in a Facebook ad.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they give you a reason? Because I know they're very hard to contact if you can't get an ad up.
Yeah, so I contacted them. They just told me that my business wasn't suitable and please do not contact them again. The matter was virtually over. And so there was no there was no way that I could actually state my case or like debate the issue. It was just done. So I'm banned for life from advertising. I found that incredibly frustrating. They took a lot of my images down from Instagram. The entire account got taken down for a period of 3 days, and then reinstalled. Like, they apologized for that one. They claimed it was a mistake, but I really think it's kind of like a power move they do when they think your content is kind of borderline. They take you down. So they did that. And then I got both my commercial websites taken down because my hosting company lawyered up on me because I had nudity on my site. Just crazy.
Why can't you have nudity on your website? What website company was that?
It was Bluehost.
Okay.
And it was apparently in their contract that they don't allow nudity. I'd been on with them for many years. I'm now on Format. Shout out to Format, who is a Canadian company. They're incredible. I believe they even...
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Of course they're cool with it.
Yeah, they even did, I believe, like their own kind of Free the Nipple, like curated show for artists, which was really great. I got it in writing that they were okay with my work. They like couldn't understand why I was concerned. So I've been really happy with the services, but it was just like all these things happened over like a few months. I just became so frustrated. I don't understand why the female nipple is so offensive, especially because it's associated with like, you know, feeding babies and life and motherhood, you know, like I can understand that nipples are sexual both for men and women, but I don't think being sexual should account to being obscene as well. So yeah, I thought it was ridiculous. Like, it's so stupid. Like, I look ridiculous sitting here with male nipples over my nipples, but that's the point.
If we want to get this on YouTube and Instagram, I mean, we have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's so stupid, but that's the thing. Like, the double standard is ridiculous.
Are these one of those moments we're going to look back like 20, 30 years and say,
yeah, be like, can you remember that? It was like,
revolutionist.
Yeah,
revolutionary.
maybe, or maybe like in 20, 30 years, we're living in The Handmaid's Tale. You know, like, that seems to be the direction we're going in at the moment.
Oh, no. I think we're just in these really big growing pains time.
Right.
Again, that we can have conversations that
right.
Even when you have these movements and push towards great things, that you're going to have this setbacks and you're going to have these things happen. Yes, they suck. And it's, you know, again, you want to say I'm on a platform of privilege to say that this doesn't affect me and it's not hindering me in my life. However, you know, it's really hard to look outside of ourselves.
Right.
It's hard to look outside and say, hey, this might be negatively affecting me, but how is this affecting the 7.5 other billion people? Or the 10 million people in my city, or the 350 million in this country? Right. And how do we make this push to get everybody on the same wavelength and the same thought or the same morals and ideas that this is going to be a better world for everybody? And setbacks happen and they suck because, I mean...
I know. I just think that... you know, this is just my contribution to the Free the Nipple movement. This has been around for so long, and there are so many Free the Nipple projects. And the conversation has been like really big on social media for so many years now. And if anything, we're going backwards. So the censorship is only getting worse. I hope that it's part of like a swing to like a more liberal censorship laws on the internet. But it seems that it's actually, in fact, getting worse.
Where do you stand on free speech?
I mean, so I think that by having my my voice limited on social media, it's a violation of my freedom of speech. But unfortunately, the laws of free speech don't apply to corporations. So that's how they're able to get around this.
What do you mean they don't apply?
So they don't apply. So corporations can choose to share whoever's voice you want. You can get fired for saying certain things. Like, the laws of free speech.
But aren't they private? They're private institutions.
Yeah.
Do private institutions isn't that their way around it?
Yeah, that's it. So businesses, corporations, like, the laws of free speech don't apply to them, which is why Instagram is allowed to censor you. But as I said before, you know, like, social media is the new public square. So it's effectively just censoring my voice entirely, you know. Instagram have been doing it for a while, but they came out publicly talking about their shadow ban. They never referred to it as a shadow ban, but they have new borderline content policies where even if your work doesn't violate the terms and conditions, they can still class you as borderline. They won't take you down. They'll just make you less visible. So they'll share your photos to like 3 people on your feed, and you won't be found in the explore page. You can't use hashtags, which is currently where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, the hashtag thing hasn't been working for me. Usually I would get discovered by 80% or like 70 or 90%, especially if I did a basketball-based video.
Right.
And now it's like only like 10%.
Yeah.
How do you know if you have a ban or not?
I mean, I can immediately tell, like, my engagement, everything, my likes are just like way down. It's just like being silenced.
I have to have you scan my thing.
It's like someone just put the mute button on your content.
We're not completely muted, but
yeah. So, but that's what it feels like. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just really frustrating.
So that's been the thing. 'Cause again, last episode I had on this guy Anomaly. He does news, politics, and hip hop, and he recently just going through those same things. He had a 3-day ban. One of his pages, 250,000, 400,000 followers, got completely demonetized.
Right.
And again, this is a place and a platform where he makes money.
Right.
And these are private institutions, though.
Yeah.
And I think after this election, and a lot of these companies, what I was told before the election, but even because of the election, they kind of got a lot of the blame put on them.
Right.
And again, it's not even a fair basis to say that they were at fault for, it depends on the phrase you say it, for Trump winning and Hillary losing.
Yeah.
It was their fault. It was no other reason that, you know, that half of our country can't decide on this, and that there's an electoral college, and he got more points than her, but she won the majority of the votes.
Right.
So the whole system is fucked. But
I agree.
So they are limiting, because we went on this with YouTube, because we're both heavily putting content on YouTube, is that YouTube wants to put sources from different media sources that they can trust. So now CNN, Fox News, ESPN, all of their content doesn't take that many views to get trending.
Right.
Just like a big content creator, like a Logan Paul, a Casey Neistat, they need 15 million views on one video to get it trending, to get it popularized. Joe Rogan, I mean, I think his Elon Musk video, it doesn't even get pushed to the top, and that thing's got, or even what's his name, crazy guy, Alex Jones.
Right.
That video doesn't get seen. It's got hundreds of millions of views. You search Alex Jones, either he's completely banned his name from there, or videos he's made. So again, but this is, you know, a private company.
Yeah, exactly.
We believe in capitalism in this country.
Like, yeah, I think that social media could have been the solution. You know, like, it gives power back to people so that they can promote themselves and run their own campaigns and promote their businesses. But it's kind of become the problem. You know, it's become this this avenue for people to spread fake news, to censor people, and now we're seeing like corporations and big money get more leniency than just the regular person, which is completely unfair.
Well, it's because they're going to get trusted.
Right. I guess I understand. I just don't think it's fair. I think that everyone's voice should be heard in equal measure.
Mm-hmm. So you've been doing this. How long has the Free the Nipple campaign been going on?
So I've been releasing the images for the last 2 weeks, and it's been so positive. So I think it's one of the most positive projects that I've done. I think when I released the list, I got a lot of like hate mail from people. I think someone told me I was the reason HIV exists in the modern world.
I don't know whether to thank you or no.
Yeah, so this like people were like really offended by the list, whereas with Free the Nipple, I've been able to find a community in social media and really bring it back to the parts about social media that are so fantastic, that you can connect with people all over the world and connect with like-minded people and build like a community. So
that might be the problem though. Like-minded people.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the problem. Too many like-minded people
That's
have
true.
been connecting,
Yeah.
and they're not seeing outside the box now.
Yeah. Well, I think my like-minded people are healthy.
Your people.
No, I just really appreciate the messages to support people and the women who have volunteered to be a part of the project. I just think it's really amazing. It's this really incredible experience too. A lot of these people I've never met in person. It just found me through Instagram, and then they come into my studio and take their top off, and I feel like we have this like very intimate moment. And for a lot of people, they have their own experiences with censorship, or having their body censored, or people telling them their body is unacceptable. And so everybody that came into the studio kind of has their own experience with it, which has been really great.
Big thing I wanted to get into too was with the sexual revolution of the 60s.
Right.
And, where we are with that today. Again, a lot of the stuff we've talked about is these two genders, or however many genders there are now, and that how people can, really have different conversations and different viewpoints on how we see things, and how much different status quos that questions.
See, I feel like this like conversation of like sexism and censorship is somewhat cyclical. So I feel like we haven't made that much progress. The sexual revolution of the 60s was fantastic, but like how far have we really come since then? So I guess I'm just like sick of having the same conversations over and over and again. I think that's why women are calling for change. We're sick of like fighting for the same thing like once again.
I mean, what's the change that has to happen? Like you said, it's talk.
I know. I feel like in regards to censorship in women's bodies is that we have to be viewed beyond just as sexual beings. That that our bodies are like purposeful and beautiful, and something that we shouldn't be ashamed of. We're just sick of being seen predominantly as sexual first and foremost.
Men and women in the workplace, good, bad, future for it.
I think it's fantastic. I think all workplaces can benefit from strong male and female voices. I do think we look at the world differently, and any business can benefit from having different voices. I'm not like anti-men at all. I think like some of the best feminists I know are male allies.
So what are your goals with doing this Free the Nipple campaign?
Okay, so for me personally, it was just a way of me expressing my frustration. I was just so angry and so sick of it, and just to feel like I can get that out there and have that conversation, be contributing. I felt like I was doing my part. So that's a goal. I'd also like to have a Free the Nipple topless dance party with burlesque. So as you know, with my last project, I really enjoy taking my photography projects and turning it into like live performance and events. It's also my way of, since I've been shadow banned, I need to find different avenues to be able to get my message across. So like by having these like free the nipple events, I think that, I can like amplify my voice and my message. I'm also really looking forward to meeting other groups. There are so many other groups and organizations dealing with censorship and other Free the Nipple groups, and I think it's a really great opportunity to create a community and kind of push this message along.
Yeah. So it started off just as a way to express yourself, and now it's just blossomed into.
I was just angry. That was the motivation for starting the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's going on with the list? Is there any updates with that? Are you still doing any more plays with that?
Yeah, I would love to do the play again, but currently I'm working on a podcast with Elvira Lynn. We're still in the preliminary stages for that, but it's a bit of a flip of the original concept. So I think in the play we heard from the people on the list, but in the podcast we'll hear from the owner of the list talking about their sexual partners.
Really?
Yeah, and then we'll go back and and talk to a few people on the list just to give context and like juxtapose their stories.
The anonymous owner of the list?
No, well, yeah, they'll be anonymous, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And each...
Thought he was coming out, exposing himself.
No, not at all.
Okay.
We won't be talking to him. I've told his story. I'm like talking to a lot of other people.
Okay.
Yeah, so each episode will be a different person in a different list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is cool. I'm excited.
How long do you see that show running for? I mean, it's just going to depend on how long the list is, that person's list.
Yeah, well, you mean each individual episode?
Yeah, because I thought what you did so well with that play is that you went through, you started with girl 36 or then it's number 2, number 3,
right.
and you told, because I read the book
yeah.
and read it with my ex, and I think that's like a great thing to read with whoever you're in a relationship with too. I mean, it opened up my eyes, just hearing those stories and seeing different similar situations I was in to say, oh wow, I could have been a dick.
Yeah. In
a really bad spot right there.
But I think that even just going through the act of writing your list and reflecting on your experiences, you have like somewhat of the same experience, I think. I think like reflecting and like now probably as an adult and looking back on some of your behavior when you were younger, like you still have a similar experience. And we will still be interviewing other people on the list in some instances, just to give that opposite perspective. But each episode will have a theme, and everyone will have an arc. So people start in one place and usually end up in a completely different place.
Yeah, I mean, you did that great with, I know that girl number of like 7 that he had that relationship with. He did the whole, Back to the Future time thing and then ended there. And that's been, you told that story really, really, really well. Yeah,
I'm talking to a woman who was a part of the purity movement. Is brought up very religious, and now flash forward, she's queer polyamorous. So it's really interesting to see like the journey people go on and how like our sex life really tells a story about our life experiences that we have along the way.
Kirra, thank you. Please let people know. Stare down that barrel. Tell them where they can find you, where they can try and connect with you because you're being shadow banned by the internet. Yes,
you can still find me. You can still find me on Instagram at Kirra Cheers, and my website kirracheers.com. I think we'll probably put a link in.
All that stuff will be there. Yeah.
And if you want to buy a copy of the book, The List, it's still up for sale.
Highly advise you go buy the book. I gotta find the copy myself.
Thank you.
And Kirra, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for putting the idea of letting us go topless.
Yes.
Let's see how long
it's been liberating. I feel good.
It's been great. It's been hot.
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's really hot in here.
I wish we could cut over because our cameraman over here is topless as well. He bought into the movement. He's freeing the nipple. And guys, make sure you go check out Kirra's stuff. Again, everywhere she just recommended you find that, KirraCheers.com, as well as her social media, Kirra Cheers. Go out. Put a topless photo up. Free the nipple. Man, woman, go out, be you. Do you. That's what it's all about. Enjoying who you are, where you come from, what your creed and what your color, what your code is, whatever it is. Go out and do it. And thank you guys so much for checking out the show. Of course, you loved it. You liked it. Go ahead and subscribe and share this video. Make sure someone else out there can go out and find, not just myself, Kirra and this podcast, and they can find ways to connect with you, us. We can build a bigger and better community. We can have conversations about people that aren't having great conversations like we had. And that's it. That's out. The bus driver is out of here. Thank you guys.
Yay, we did it. High five.
This is the move for those who